Hey, welcome back to another episode of Whiskey Row. So tonight we're back in the speakeasy. Hope you guys enjoyed the last video where we were out by the campfire. I had a lot of fun filming that one, even though we had some technical difficulties. But we're back in the beautiful confines of the speakeasy, and we're back to doing another store haul, which we haven't done for a while. I've been accumulating some bottles, and it's time to do one. Now, tonight we're going to be going through 10 different bottles. Some of them were acquired by just buying locally here in Virginia at the ABC stores. Some were purchased from some of you online, and some of them were from trades. So let's just dive right into it and see what I was able to get a hold of. So the first bottle we're going to dive in tonight is Knob Creek Smoked Maple. So I picked this up on recommendation from a lot of you out there. You know that I'm trying to find stuff that Jamie might like and kind of share a little bit of my passion for bourbon with her. And so you guys suggested it. I picked it up. It was right, paid retail for. It's right around $38, $40. Nothing particularly special about it other than, just trying to find some stuff for Jamie. So I'm excited to put this on her shelf, which is yet to be built, but I'm starting to set stuff aside because there's things that she's getting that I don't necessarily want to put on my bourbon shelves, and I also don't want to have them on the floor. So I'll find a place for her shelf here soon, but this is going to go on her shelf once the shelf exists. So next up tonight is Widow Jane Oak and Applewood. Now this is a kind of interesting product. It's technically a rye whiskey. It comes from a rye mash. Picked this one up on recommendation from you guys. I got it from my local ABC store at retail. Nothing particularly special other than it's kind of like a really kind of a unique bottle. So this is a rye whiskey that they put into first fill bourbon barrels, and then they put in applewood staves into those barrels, kind of like how the stave profiles by Maker's Mark, they put the actual wooden staves into it. So they do a similar thing to that with this, and they put the rye whiskey into bourbon barrels to age. So it's kind of a unique thing. It comes in at 90 proof. I'm kind of intrigued what that's going to really come out like. So even though I got this for Jamie, I'm intrigued by it. I'm going to try it. Definitely want to open this one up on camera. You guys know that I really, really enjoyed the Widow Jane 10-year. And so I have hopes that this will be kind of a very unique, fruity, appley, caramel, kind of almost like a caramel covered apple. But I have no idea, haven't tried it yet. It's still sealed. So one of these days we'll open it up. But I am excited to have this one in the speakeasy. Now, this is the last bottle from that ABC store trip that I took. Now, this is Cape Charles Maple Whiskey. Now, this is actually distilled here in Virginia. It's actually across the Chesapeake from us, just north of Virginia Beach in Cape Charles. But I got this at the local ABC. This wasn't a recommendation from everybody else, but I just kind of saw this one, and it kind of leapt out at me as something that Jamie might like. They describe it as a unique blend of corn whiskey that's then mixed with Amish maple syrup. It comes in at 60 proof, so it's fairly low proof, and it should, because it's a direct blend of a whiskey and maple syrup, it should be fairly sweet. And again, this isn't something that I'm super excited for, but I did see this. It was a local thing here in Virginia that when I saw it, I was intrigued by it for Jamie, so picked it up for her, and this is gonna probably go onto her shelf, not into the other speakeasy shelves. Now, next up tonight is this beautiful bottle of American whiskey by Bull Run Distillery out in Portland, Oregon. Now, before we get into exactly what this was a gift by Cody, one of our Patreons here on Whiskey Row, and he sent this out as a gift. I had no idea it was coming. He sent me some stickers as well, some custom Whiskey Row stickers that I was pretty excited to get. Didn't know they were coming either. It was just kind of a gift thing he sent. Cody, very generous of you. Thank you so much. So this bottle from Bull Run Distillery is an American whiskey. It's aged for 13 years with additional aging in Pinot Noir casks. The additional aging turns out to be 7 months. Now, this is a barrel pick by the Eskimo Brothers Barrel Club, and it's cask strength coming at 124.62 proof. Y'all know when I was out in Oregon last May and we were hitting up different liquor stores around the state as we were touring and checking stuff out, everybody kept saying, you got to get a hold of a Bull Run cask strength. That's what you got to get a hold of. And I couldn't find one, so I ended up just getting a regular Bull Run bourbon, which was very, very good at 90 proof. It was good. Very happy that I got it, but I never did get one. So then when I actually opened this up and saw that Cody had sent this to me, I was ecstatic because it's 13 years, then it's aged an additional 7 months in Pinot Noir cask, which would be kind of interesting, at cask strength, 124.62 proof. That's amazing. But I'm extremely excited to have this on the shelves in the speakeasy. Now, next up are 3 different bottles that were all part of the same trade. And these 3 bottles were all things that I thought about getting. I can't really get them here in Virginia. I've never seen them here, but I've seen them in other stores, and I've seen them sometimes marked up on secondary. And I've had some offers to make some trades, and I finally decided I was given the opportunity to get all 3 of them at once in one trade. And I decided to jump on it because then I can actually just say I've got the whole collection of 3 bottles. So it is a collection of 3 bottles. So what it is, it's the Buffalo Trace Kosher line of products. So there's the wheat recipe, the rye recipe, and then the straight rye. And I was able to get all 3 in one trade. Now, Nick was very cool to help me get this. We ended up trading. I gave him 2 Blantons and he gave me all 3 of the Buffalo Trace Kosher. Now again, I buy Blantons at retail, so I pay $60 for $65, I think, for my Blantons. Now first up tonight from the kosher line from Buffalo Trace is the wheat recipe. Now basically what they mean by wheat recipe, it is following the standard Buffalo Trace wheated mash bill, the same one that they use for like Weller Special Reserve and the Antique 107. This comes in at 94 proof. It retails for about $40. The secondary on it can get a little high up into the 80s. I've seen it, so don't be shocked if you see it up there. Is it worth it? Don't have a clue. It should kind of share a similar flavor profile to like a Weller Special Reserve or maybe an Antique 107. It's coming in at 94 proof. Obviously, if you need a whiskey that meets Passover requirements, this is one of your options. And really, think of it as a Weller that is 94 proof and meets Passover requirements. That's really kind of what this is, and it's that in order to meet the Passover requirements, it's got to be certified by a rabbinical league, and there's some other things, and they go through this cleaning process in the equipment to meet those Passover requirements. But they've met the Passover requirements, so if you need something that's a Passover whiskey, this will do it for you. Now, next up tonight is the Buffalo Trace rye recipe. Now, this is very, very similar in that the wheat recipe was like the Weller, the wheated Buffalo Trace mash bill. This one is the standard Buffalo Trace bourbon mash bill that uses rye as the secondary grain. So this is actually not a rye whiskey, it's a bourbon. You would compare it to like a Buffalo Trace bottle, just a standard Buffalo Trace bottle, except for it's aged for a minimum of 7 years, and then it is coming in at 94 proof, which is higher proof than a standard Buffalo Trace, and a little bit more age to it. Hopefully it ends up being pretty good. The price on this is, again, retails right around 40, but secondary, again, is right around 80-ish. I saw in several places. So I'm excited to have this along with the other bottles in the collection. Now, the last one of the kosher line for you guys tonight is the Buffalo Trace Kosher Straight Rye. Now, this uses the standard Buffalo Trace rye mash bill, which would be very, very similar to like a Sazerac rye. It is, again, 7 years aged. It is 94 proof. It should taste kind of like a baby Sazerac. So the Sazerac's baby Sazes are 6 years. This is 7 years, so it might be a hint older than that. But it should, again, be fairly similar, coming in at $40 retail. On this one, it seemed like the secondary is a little bit higher. I was seeing more like 80 to 100. But again, it's in that range. Are they worth it? I don't know, because you can get a baby Sazerac, at least here in Virginia. They're allocated limited, but you can get them for about $30, $35. And this, if you could get this at retail, it's probably worth it. But if you're paying secondary, I don't really know. I'm kind of excited because it's kind of cool to have all 3 in the collection. And that was kind of the whole reason why I finally pulled the trigger, was I could get all 3 bottles in one deal and get those on the shelves of the speakeasy. So that's pretty cool. So I know this is Whiskey Row, but you guys know that I love rum, and that's where I first cut my teeth in sipping liquor, was in the rum world. Keith up in New York was a longtime supporter of the channel, was able to help me get this. Now this is Foursquare 2009. What it is a 12-year, 120 proof blended rum that is made from first, second, and third fill bourbon barrels. This is described as one of the special rums out there. There's no artificial colors, no added sugars, nothing added to it. It's literally just the blend of those aged barrels, and it comes together in what's supposed to be a fantastic example of what a rum can really, really be. Now, for me as a bourbon lover and a rum lover, to get a rum that's aged in used bourbon barrels, I'm hoping will impart some kind of a blend of a traditional rum with a bourbon, and I'm hopeful that that's going to be really, really good. Can't say enough how excited I am to get this in the speakeasy. I know I don't actually have a rum shelf in here yet. I've got to remedy that. So I got to get a shelf for Jamie for her maple and super sweet stuff that I don't want on my normal shelves. And then I got to find a space and some shelves for these rums that I keep buying, because I keep getting intrigued, and they're very, very good to sip on. So thank you so much, Keith, and I'm very, very excited to have this in the speakeasy. Now, this beautiful box and beautiful presentation is supposed to be an amazing Irish whiskey. This is the Middleton Very Rare. What it is a blend of single pot still and single grain Irish whiskeys between 15 and 36 years old that are then put into ex-bourbon barrels, ex-American bourbon barrels, and then aged for 15 to 36 years. So this is a long time coming as far as a product. There is no age statement on it, but they have come out and said that it is between 15 and 36 year blend. All right, so let's open this up. And actually, I've never opened this. This is literally my first time opening it. I pulled it out of the box, and it comes in this like special protective sleeve. So I pulled it out of there, and we're gonna actually open it up for the first time. So I hope you guys can see that. That's gorgeous. It's not centered, of course. If I would have opened it before, I would have centered it properly. But no, now we're gonna fix it. There we go. Now this is an absolutely gorgeous presentation. The box is like nice hardwood. It feels very well made. And the bottle itself is a gorgeous kind of shape to it. Let's see if we can get that out. So here's the bottle out of the box. I'm very, very excited to get this. The only downside of this is it's only 80 proof, so it's fairly low proof for something so special and fairly expensive. It's $186, and there didn't seem to be much of a secondary market for it for the most part, unless you are trying to go back in time. But if you're seeing this video in 2021, you want to get a hold of one and you want to spend the money, they're out there for you. This is considered to be like one of the best Irish whiskeys that you can get, the best expressions of an Irish whiskey you can get. And then as a bourbon lover, to have this Irish whiskey, which I do like Irish whiskey, but then to have something that's aged this long in ex-bourbon barrels is kind of cool to me. And I can't be more excited to add this to the Irish whiskey collection. This is obviously the best Irish, should be the best Irish whiskey I've ever had. And it's the most expensive Irish whiskey I've ever bought. Not the most expensive whiskey I bought, but the most expensive Irish I've ever bought. So I'm extremely happy to get this in the speakeasy. When you have hauled a Middleton Very Rare, and that is not the end of your haul video, then you know that you have done well, because to end this video tonight, we have one last bottle, and it is a Michter's 10-year single barrel rye coming in at 92 proof. They retail for about $170. The secondary on them is $300 to $400. They're pretty expensive on secondary. I was able to get this via a trade. Now, you guys know that I ended up getting, from Antho down in Florida, was gracious enough to help me find and get a hold of a Blue Run 14-year. I got that bottle, I think I showed it to you guys, ended up opening it up, trying it, having 3 or 4 ounces out of it. For the expense, it just didn't seem like it was really worth it. It wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't gross or anything, but for the price, it was kind of not super exciting. And I kind of mentioned that on camera. And Craig, a longtime supporter of the channel and somebody I've done several trades with, Craig reached out to me and was like, if you want, I'll trade you that Blue Run. I just got a hold of this Michter's. And to balance the trade, he opened it up and had a good pour out of it and enjoyed a little bit of it before he sent it my way. And I sent him my open Blue Run, and we ended up trading. And I will say, I have had a pour of this since I got it, but we're going to try some right now. So as we're letting this get some air into it, I do have to say, I am so incredibly grateful for all of the help from so many of you out there that are willing to trade with me. And many of you offer trades and I can't respond quick enough. Please take no offense, because I don't mean, if I'm not getting back to you fast, it's not that I'm not trying, it's that there's just a lot of communication. And there's also only so much that I can spend on bourbon and whiskeys in a month. So I kind of have to pick and choose. But to be able to trade this to Craig was very, very cool. Let's smell this thing. Now the nose on this, I'm getting this like really deep toffee, almost caramel and toffee. And there's like a rye spice that's really, really kind of pleasant. There's a little bit of almost like a citrus on the nose as well. Very, very faint, but just a little bit of citrus. The palate on this has this delicious kind of creamy texture. There's obviously some rye spice on your tongue. It's got a really just amazing mouth coat. The finish, the mid palate kind of goes towards it softens the rye spice. It stays just a little peppery. Not super strong, but just a little bit of a pepperiness there. And then from the mid palate, there's there's a little bit of that pepper. There's a sweetness. There's that toffee sweetness, like a caramel almost, like a caramel covered apple almost in the mid palate. And then as it fades, and it's still going, by the way, from the first sip, it's still going. That finish, it goes towards caramel. Like it really just kind of softens, and the rye spice and caramel just continue as it goes down your throat. This is an exceptionally good rye. I'm extremely excited for this. I do have a Michter's barrel strength rye, and I have to say that I think that I enjoy this better. I think to me this is, at least on first pour, I think this is better than that bottle. But I don't know if it'll beat the Jack Daniel's single barrel proof. So I might have to have another best of rye competition and see which of the of these hitter ryes can come out on top. Well, that's everything we were able to pull into the speakeasy. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to everybody who helped me get a hold of these bottles, and thank you to the Patreons for your continued support. And until next time, find the bottle you love.